So essentially today we will have a neutral motion, it's called a neutral motion, put forward by the government, essentially saying this House, Parliament, takes note of the fact that talks are continuing between the EU and the UK. After that, a series of debates will take place and MPs have the opportunity to put forward changes to that language to try and create a consensus around a different position, perhaps to the government. Now, those are known as amendments. They'll be voted on later on today. None of them are legally binding, but what they might mean is there is a change to the legislative procedure in the coming weeks. And the really key one to watch on that front is still being tabled by a Labour MP, Yvette Cooper, who's been behind similar efforts in the past when we've had similar days in Parliament like this. And what we heard from the Prime Minister yesterday was essentially an attempt to take the wind out of the sails of this amendment put forward by Yvette Cooper. Take a listen to the Prime Minister and what she said yesterday around the idea of extending the negotiating period, something that she for 2 years has insisted she's not been prepared to do. She is still warning she doesn't think it's a great idea.
An extension beyond the end of June would mean the UK taking part in the European Parliament elections. What kind of message would that send to the more than 17 million people who voted to leave the EU nearly 3 years ago now? And the House should be clear that a short extension, not beyond the end of June, would almost certainly have to be a one-off.
Now, she references the end of June. That would be a 3-month extension, and it's important to bear in mind the date of the European parliamentary elections in May and the fact that MEPs, members of the European Parliament, would take their seats at the beginning of July. So this is trying, by saying 3 months is her utmost limit, to make sure that the UK does not have to essentially run candidates in those European elections, something that the people in Brussels have said they're not very happy about, and it would make things a lot more complicated. In terms of her own party, though, this is not just about the 17 million people who voted in favour of Brexit. This is also, of course, about members of her own party who are ardently pushing for Brexit, and in many of their cases, as hard a Brexit as possible. She's concerned about losing their support, and so she's essentially trying to warn them off against an extension as one potential way that there could be a reversal of Brexit, what she calls no Brexit at all. And that's especially significant because what we've heard from Labour over the last couple of days is they will now formally support the idea of a second referendum, specifically on Theresa May's deal, if their own proposals about a permanent customs union membership are not taken up by the government. Here's Jeremy Corbyn speaking yesterday in Parliament.
We cannot risk our country's industry and people's livelihoods. And so if it somehow does pass in some form at a later stage, we believe there must be a confirmatory public vote to see if people feel that's what they voted for. A no-deal outcome would be disastrous.
And one of the amendments, one of the suggested changes to the government's neutral motion today in Parliament comes from Labour, and it's again them trying to push forward their proposals on permanent customs union membership. It's worth bearing in mind, though, that because of the Prime Minister's statement yesterday, it does seem like she's made a bit of a sop to some of her opponents and indeed some of her allies to try and keep the ball rolling, while her team are still in Brussels once again trying to negotiate changes, potentially legal changes, to that very tricky Northern Irish backstop.
Hi, I'm Joanna Bersecci and thank you for watching. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more from CNBC International. Thank you for watching.